Hi everyone, and welcome to a training video that I've put together for the Consulting Office Season 1 and 2. And the reason I've done this is because there is a lot of material we have between Season 1 and 2. And over the last few months, as we've watched different subscribers come in and use the website, we've seen which subscribers have been doing well as they watch the website, so we can track their movement across the website, and which have been doing poorly. So in this first video, I want to show you what's available on the website so that you know what is there and why we have it there and how you can use it as you prepare, right? So let's go through this and I'll talk you through the most important things. So if you go onto our website and you click the consulting offer, you're going to be taken onto this page, which is only showing you the material we have for Season 2, right? So only the Season 2 material is being shown on this page. And if you scroll on to other parts here and you click on these, it takes you to the Season 1 material. So let's start with Season 2, right? The Season 2 material, you need to use this drop-down menu to scroll between the episodes. So there's episodes 1 to 15, and episodes 16 and 17 still have to be loaded yet. They're not that important, that's why we didn't worry about it. And as you click on each of these, the new episodes come up below you, right? So let's go to the first episode and show you what is here. So Episode 1, it is an episode whereby we have Kevin, the former head of co-leader, worldwide co-leader of McKinsey strategy practice, sits down with Alice and Michael and shows them how to network and engage a partner, and he gives them advice on their resume, right? So we've taken each of those episodes and broke it down into digestible chunks of the most important areas. So Kevin here explains how McKinsey reviews a resume. We've broken that down into a 2-minute, 30-second video. 3 things Kevin or McKinsey seeks in a resume. We've broken that down into a 1-minute, 50-second video. And we've done that throughout. So therefore, you can pick the areas you want to view, right? Every time you watch a video, every time you click on a video and you watch it, these little blocks under viewed become open, become closed, in the sense that they go from being white to becoming blue, so that it tells you you've watched something. Everything that I've selected as the editor of the show as my choice would appear as a dark blue block here. If you can see, I've selected a lot of things in Season 2 as the editor's choice, which tells you it's high quality material. If you watch something important and you want to remember it's there, you just click on Save, like that, and you go into this bar and it keeps a record of that. If you don't want to watch it any longer, you can unsave it, and you can see it becomes unsaved on this end. Now, what do we have here? We have the content, so you should scroll up and down to watch the material you want. Now, one of the things we noticed viewers do is they watch a lot of episode 1, and they watch a lot of episode 13, but they skip the really important stuff where Kevin is teaching candidates how to do cases. You're never going to do well if you skip the most important material, right? Because remember, the way a senior partner is going to do interviews in the final round is very different from the way associates and recruiters have taught you to do interviews in the first round. The first round and final round are very different. So if you just watch what recruiters and associates are telling you to do, you're going to pass your first round, but you're not going to pass the final round. That's the key difference between watching what partners do, because only partners do the final round, and the partners have the biggest say in terms of recruiting decision. Not recruiters, they have no say. Associates only get you to the final round, but in the final round, the partner and the associate partner, who is probably going to do the joint final round, will have the biggest say. So it's important you watch all of the material. So in terms of bonus material, we have put in some bonus material here. So these are all audio files. Everything else is video file. This is an audio file. So here we have 10 practice sessions whereby we help the Canadian candidate join the McKinsey implementation group. Here we have Kevin advising Edward, who is an experienced hire, in terms of how to go into his interviews and manage the BCG interview process. And we have a couple of discussions here. Here Kevin helps an undergraduate from Australia talk about how he needs to plan for his interviews and so on. So there's 2 sessions here. And we also have numerous sessions with this candidate talking about the experience he had interviewing. And then here we have a Ukrainian candidate who is preparing to interview in Moscow. And here we have a 12-day challenge to get him into Bain, right? So quite a lot of bonus material here as well. Saved, I explain what that is. Documents are the important Word files with regards to resumes and cover letters. So here you can see Alice's resume before she joined the program and after she joined the program, and the same thing for Michael and their cover letters and their resumes, right? Then we have the bio. So here, if you click on each of these videos, it will take you to a page where there's a video bio of Kevin Quine, a video bio of Alice explaining her background, and the same with Michael Klein, right? Alice was one of the finalists who made it into the final round of season 2. So was Michael, and Alice went on to receive offers from BCG and McKinsey. Now here we have episode guides, just a short synopsis of what you can expect in each episode. And what I do find surprising is people watch episode 1, a lot of it, and they watch episode 13. So the point is you can't shortcut this, right? It's a process to learn. You need to go through everything and get the most that you can out of it. And then finally we have the frequently asked questions. This is just season 2. You shouldn't start watching season 2. You should always start with season 1, preferably Felix or Sanjeev. And why is that? Because of the way season 1 and season 2 have been constructed. If you watch season 2, right? Let's go to season 2. Season 2, this is now Felix, has far more material than season 1 has far more material than season 2. Because season 1 is constructed to teach you all of the foundation skills, how to do hypotheses, how to read graphs, how to read newspapers. It's all covered here. And in season 2, we expect you to watch season 1 and have all that foundational skills, and Kevin does really difficult final round cases that you would expect from a partner, right? So if you're starting off the videos by watching season 1, I wouldn't do that. If you're starting off the episodes by watching season 2 with Kevin, I wouldn't do that, because Kevin is consolidating all of the training that I'm going to teach you in season 1 and is expecting you to apply it in season 2. So if you do season 2 episodes without watching at least one of the candidates from season 1, you won't be able to do season 2, because it's expecting you to know some of the background material. Now beyond that, let's talk about what is available in season 1, because there's a lot available. So we have 4 candidates in season 1: Felix, Samantha, Sanjeev, Rafik. Now Felix went on to get an offer, but she declined it to stay in corporate. Sanjeev also went up to get an offer, but he chose to accept it and he's joined BCG. So in season 2, 50% success rate. Alice got into 2 firms, and in season 1, also 50% success rate, because 2 of the 4 candidates got in, which is a very, very high success rate for a show that is obviously audited, because these people are actually joining these firms, right? It's not as if we're making it up. So let's talk about what's here, right? So same principle and layout, but there are a few differences. Felix went through a stunning 23 sessions with us. Well, 24 sessions actually, right? And each session is different, right? Each session is teaching something different, right? Now let's look at the layout here. At the beginning, we put down the stuff that you need to watch before you go through the session material. So we call it prepare. What do you need to watch before you watch the session? Then learn is what are the things you need to learn from the session, right? That is the session material. So prepare. Once you prepare to learn, you then go in and learn, right? So here we've given you some advice. Here we've put the material. So for example, the first session to edit Felix's resume goes here. It's about an hour and a half session where we edit a resume. Then there's some practice quizzes for you to do, which we'll come to shortly, and then additional material related to the first session. We didn't consider additional material so important, so we put it at the end. Things like Felix's diary. She keeps a diary. Between every session, she mentions what does she want to get out of the session, what are the questions she has, and so on, so you can track her performance. Now, the thing to note is that every session looks different. So let's look at this, right? Sessions 1 to 4 are resume sessions, so they look the same, right? But let's look at session 5. Session 5, we introduce it to estimation and math cases. We put in a lot of preparation material because estimation is so important. Now, what a lot of candidates do is they skip this. They watch 1 and they say, okay, I watched 1, let me go on and do the learning sessions. Our advice is watch this. If you need to watch 3 to understand the technique, watch 3. If you need to watch 2 to understand the technique, watch 2, but make sure you understand the technique. Then you can watch the session I do with Felix where I'm teaching you how to do things. So that's where the learn comes in. It's a long session between an hour to 2 hours along where I show a step by step. So if you've prepared but you don't understand the material very well, go to the Learn session and watch the video. And I would strongly encourage you to do that because we teach a lot of core material. I mean, everything we know about cases is in those videos. Then, after the session with Felix, I present my feedback. I send Felix a short, probably 5 to 10 minute audio file telling it, this is how you did, this is what you could have done better. So it's important to watch the session and see the feedback I present. Then, for every single case I've done in the session with Felix, I put down the video answer, the video solution of how I would do it, and I talk you through it, how you should do it. And then the video solution, I also have a written answer where I don't provide an overview, no voice overview, but you can read the written solution in your spare time. And then we also have the practice quizzes, right? So we can also just click on that and you can see the quizzes would come up. Now the way the practice quizzes start is we have something called free quizzes and we have something called premium quizzes. Now the free quizzes is open to anyone. Anyone not registered on the site can take the free quiz. You can take the free quiz and it tells you at the end of this by answering the question whether you are ready or not. So if you gave a good answer, it shows up in green. And if you give a bad answer, it shows up in red. And it explains why you've made the mistake you've made. 20 questions. Detailed solutions. This is very useful for you to go through if you're not a subscriber. It's the free question and answer session we have. Now, if you are a subscriber, we have a lot of quizzes here, 23 quizzes, right? We have 8 preparation quizzes. Quiz 1 to 8 are preparation quizzes. You should take this before you start going through the material. It tells you how ready you are for the material. Once you've gone through them, and again, they are quite long, right? So let's get through this one. There's 1 of 10 here. It provides a situation. You've got to answer the question. You answer it. You can check your answer. It tells you if you've provided the right or wrong answer, and then it takes you to the next question. And at the end of this, it will give you a synopsis of how you've performed so you can see if you've done well or poorly. And you can see the question, there's a wide variety here, right? The preparation quizzes are all fundamentals. And then we go on, we have quizzes on estimation, so we can test if you've done estimation. So the plan here is, once you've finished watching session 5 on estimation with Felix, go do the quiz on estimations, right? And then see, okay, I've watched the sessions, I've watched the perfect answer material, I should do well on the quiz. If you do badly on the quiz, then you know you don't understand the material and you should go back. And we have a quiz for every single session. So you do the brainstorming session with Felix, come and do the quiz, see if you've done. You do the profit cases, session 7, come and see if you're doing well in the quiz. And you can continue and pace yourself throughout. Now, let's go back to Felix because quite a lot of material here, right? Every session will have different preparation material. See, the brainstorming stuff has different preparation material. Again, same principle. We give you some cases to watch and videos to watch to prepare for the session. You can then watch the session that I will have with Felix where I teach you to do brainstorming. Then you can listen to my feedback. Then you can watch me do each of the cases I did with Felix, giving the perfect answer. Or you can just watch the solution written. Then you can do the practice quiz. Now, let's go through one of these videos, right? Because there are certain features we built into the videos. So let's assume you've watched part of the video and you're tired and you went to sleep and you're going to watch it the next morning. All you have to do is, if you refresh the video, it will take you back to the most important parts, right? That's the key thing. So the videos are set up so that you can track all of the changes you want to make, and there's comments and so on. So if you don't understand anything, you can post a comment and you can see what we've done. Now, some of the features we've built into the videos are quite interesting. Let's go here, right? Let's assume you want to watch this video and you've watched it before. So let's assume you set up the video to watch it and you're watching a little bit. You can see we've closed captioned each of the files so that If you are watching this in a dormitory and so on, you can simply put it on mute and you can read through it. You can see it also whites out the page, which forces you to focus on the most important things. And now, as I mentioned before, if you want to come back and watch it, and you've only watched half, you don't have to recall anything because it remembers where you stopped watching. And all you have to do is you can skip the beginning and continue where you've left off, or you can go to the beginning. So we've built a lot of interesting features into this, right? And remember that every single session for Felix has new preparation material, new cases. Now, beyond that, remember that every candidate, right? We looked at Felix's files. Rafik is not doing the same questions as Felix. He's doing different questions, right? So let's go to session 5 for Rafik. He's got the same preparation material, but look at the questions he's doing. Fortune Magazine annual revenue estimation, Grand Central Terminal toll estimation. And let's go to Felix's file. Let's go to session 5. And you see that she is doing different sessions. So it is useful to go through all of the candidate sessions because not only do they have a different backgrounds, they also have different cases that we are doing for them. So if you just watch Felix's sessions, it doesn't mean that you've been through all of the questions. You could be missing something. And we picked the candidates carefully, right? So Felix is a PhD, Samantha is a PhD from Yale. Rafik was an MBA from a French school, and Sanjeev was an MBA from a European school and a British school. And then for season 2, we've got 2 PhDs, one from Yale and one from McGill. And in season 3, we'll have all MBAs. Now, every time we post an update about how to use this, we're going to put it in the podcast section. So this video, for example, you're watching it in the podcast section. That's where all the training material would go. But the other thing I want to show you is some of the key material that we have sitting here, right? So I've been through each tab for season 2. I want to do the same for season 2, right? So there's a user guide here. It explains to you the way we would want you to go through the videos. In every single session, there's a different objective, right? So you see the session 5, we explain how we taught the candidate. This is useful to go through so you understand how we're teaching them the material. If you click on, let's say, operations, you see the guideline on the objectives for session 13 has changed because there are different guidelines, right? So it's important to read the objectives because they differ for each session. It gives you the background to how we constructed the case, why we taught them this material, how we've adjusted it because they're performing poorly, and so on. Here we have useful articles, their resumes before and after editing. And then here we have really interesting articles, which I'll go through in a minute because this is something that candidates overlook, right? A lot of useful material here. And then we have the timeline. So if this is Felix's file, this is how she prepared. So on August 21st, 2012, she did a session 1 coaching and she did 90 minutes of that. On August 22nd, she read the New York Times. So you can see how she prepared and you can replicate that because both Felix and Sanjeev were successful. One got into McKinsey and the other one into BCG, right? So you can see what she did throughout the entire process and replicate that. Now let's look at the useful articles, right? I'm going to go through that one by one. So let's click on this one, right? So if you go back, the coaching strategy, this is the most important one. What is a consulting officer? That tells you what the show is about, and this is a brief background about each candidate. Let's go through each of these, the coaching strategy, types of cases used, and so on. So here I explain the 7 techniques we used to train these 4 candidates and the same technique we used to prepare Alice and Michael in season 2 as well. So it's useful to read this because you will understand the way we train and why we train so that if you are doing your own preparation, you can adjust your learning technique, right? Like, for example, the layered approach and cumulative learning approach is fundamental to the way you prepare cases, right? And we follow that approach. So that is why you notice that the cases become progressively harder as you do them with Felix and with Alice. We start off with easier cases and then we go on to harder cases. Here, We list all the types of cases. So how do we define a case? We define it around whether it's answer first or issue first. Is the interviewer leading or the interviewee leading? Is the objective function clear? Is the problem clear or not clear? And are they giving you a lot or very little data, right? And then we give examples. Then we tell you the 12 types of cases we are teaching in the program, and we give an example of each one so you can understand it and recognize it yourself. And then we explain how to handle it as well. Now, here's another interesting thing. Right? This infographic tracks the most important variables for each of the candidates. So what you can see is here, how did each of the candidates prepare over time? And you can see that we can track that because we gave them preparation videos to watch, and we can see who watched the material and who didn't, right? And we can see how that changed over time. And then we explain the implications of that. So when you are watching the material, you can also think, how does my behavior match this, right? And then Felix, for example, and myself commented on this to see whether my interpretation made sense in terms of what she was actually going through, right? Then we scored candidates and how they acted on feedback. And we looked at whether there was a correlation between performance in terms of getting an offer versus acting on feedback. Again, we explain it. Again, I comment and Felix comments, right? We looked at their consistency. We looked at how they deviated between the 3 skills we are measuring: communication, the ability to technically answer the cases, and their confidence. Were they consistent and inconsistent? And again, we explain it. Here we measure the time it took a candidate to answer each question. And you can see they became progressively faster. Right? You can see Felix becoming progressively faster even though we don't at any time tell her to focus on speed. Here, we looked at how the time to finish a case decreases as they become faster. So technically, as you become better at cases, you should be faster at doing cases so we can do more cases per session. So here we're tracking the number of cases that we're doing per session, and we expect all candidates to have that profile. Here we look at the amount of time spent per session. You can see we spent the most amount of time with Samantha, but amongst the least amount of time with Felix, right? But Felix and Sanjeev were the star performers, Felix overall, and Samantha, who we spent the most time with, actually was the worst performer, which tells you that the time you spend is not as important as what you do with that time. Then we looked at preparation. Again, we explained it, and then we explained how we adapted our coaching style. So you can see very useful information that we are being measuring here, right? And then we measured the most important thing that we looked at, which is business judgment. And we explain why business judgment is the most important lead indicator of how a candidate will do. Then we also interviewed, myself and Kevin did this interview where we explained how we ran the program. It's a long interview, but it's a very important interview to understand the way we structured things, the strategy we followed, and why we built the program as we did. Here is an interview, a short interview with Felix, explaining what she went through, what her lessons were, and so on. And we also have one page listing every single case per every single session for every single candidate. And then here, the type of material in each of the sessions. So as you can see, there's an incredible amount of information. What I would recommend any candidate subscribing to the consulting offer should start with this video, should read the article about our coaching strategy, should read our article about the type of cases, should go through this infographic very carefully, should read the interview between myself and Kevin, should read Felix's interview, and should get a sense of the type of cases that we are offering. So as you can see, there's a lot of material. In follow-up videos, I will put together training programs so that if you have a week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare, how do you go through all of the material? And if you just have, a day to prepare, what do you do? If you have 2 months to prepare, what do you do? But this video just shows you what is available. The bottom line is, you've got to read all of the material that sits under useful articles under Season 1, Felix, Rafik, Sanjeev, Samantha. You've got to start with the Season 1 candidates, at least Felix. Only when you finish the Season 1 candidates, then you go to Season 2. If you just go to Season 2, you're not going to be trained to deploy the skills Kevin is expecting you to deploy. Because when we set up Season 2, we didn't want to make it a repeat of Season 1, so Kevin takes it to the next level, right? And remember, Kevin is doing open-ended McKinsey cases where no framework will ever be successful to solve them. You just can't use a framework to do it. So I hope you found that video useful, and I will be posting more videos on this theme going forward about how to use the consulting offer and how to use the strategy and training library we're about to launch.